You think you understand size? You look at the sky, you see the moon, the sun, a few stars, and your brain quietly assumes it has a reference. But the moment we start measuring the universe with real distances instead of intuition, that sense of scale collapses. The true size of the universe is not just big. It is so vast that it breaks the way the human mind organizes reality. What feels far to us is, in cosmic terms, almost touching. What feels enormous is barely a dot. And what we call the edge is not a wall, but a limit imposed by light itself. Standing on Earth, everything feels immediate. The ground beneath your feet, the horizon in front of you, the sky above. Even the moon, hanging in the night sky, feels close enough to reach with imagination. But if the Earth were reduced to the size of a grain of sand, the moon would already be several meters away. That single comparison is enough to hint that our instincts are unreliable. Distance in space is not built for human perception. It is built on numbers so large that language itself struggles to contain them. The universe does not reveal its scale all at once. It does it gradually, almost cruelly. First, it stretches your sense of distance. Then, it stretches your sense of time. And finally, it stretches your sense of meaning. Light, the fastest thing that exists, becomes slow when faced with cosmic distances. Years turn into thousands, then millions, then billions. What you are about to understand is not how far things are, but how small our frame of reference truly is. And here is the most unsettling part. Everything we are about to describe is not speculation. It is not science fiction. It is built on observation, measurement, and physical laws tested again and again. The universe we are about to travel through is real, measurable, and already recorded by instruments that see far beyond human eyes. Once this journey begins, there is no way to return to the comfortable idea that we live in a large universe. You will realize we live in something far bigger than large. Before we go any farther, take a moment to lock this idea in your mind. Nothing you have ever seen, imagined, or compared truly prepares you for the real scale of the cosmos. When we talk about the scale of the universe, we are not talking about abstract numbers written in textbooks. We are talking about real distances that light itself must cross. And to understand that, we have to start from the only place that feels familiar: Earth. Our planet is a sphere about 12,000 kilometers wide, floating in space, completely insignificant in size when compared to what surrounds it. Yet from here, everything else seems distant, unreachable, almost infinite. The moon is the first step away from Earth, and it already challenges intuition. On average, it is about 384,000 kilometers away. That sounds manageable until you realize that you could fit all the other planets of the solar system between Earth and the moon with room to spare. Suddenly, what felt close begins to stretch. The sun pushes that stretching even further. Light takes a little more than 8 minutes to reach Earth from the sun, traveling at nearly 300,000 kilometers per second. That distance alone is enough to fit over 1 million Earths inside the sun. Yet, astronomically, it is still considered nearby. This is where perspective starts to crack. The solar system feels vast when viewed from Earth, but it is a tiny neighborhood in a much larger structure. The distances between planets are dominated not by objects, but by emptiness. Space is not crowded. It is overwhelmingly empty. And this emptiness is what defines scale far more than stars or planets ever could. As we move outward in understanding, the idea of far away loses its everyday meaning. Distance becomes something measured in light years, not kilometers. Time and space merge into a single concept, where seeing something also means seeing its past. When you look at the stars, you are not seeing them as they are now, but as they were when their light began its journey toward Earth. Before continuing, take a second and let me know where you're watching from. Are you following this journey from the Americas, Europe, or somewhere else on this planet? And if this perspective shift is already changing the way you think about space, don't forget to like the video. It helps this content reach more people who are curious about the universe we actually live in. Everything you've read so far is only the beginning. We haven't even left our immediate cosmic neighborhood yet, and already the numbers feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not accidental. It is the first sign that your intuition is being replaced by reality. Earth is the only place in the universe where distance feels intuitive. Here, scale makes sense. You walk a few miles and feel tired. You drive for hours and feel far from home. You look up at the sky and assume that what you see is simply out there, arranged at different but understandable distances. This sense of familiarity is not based on physics. It is based on survival. The human brain evolved to function within a narrow bubble of space, and everything beyond that bubble breaks its internal measuring system. Our planet is about 12,000 kilometers wide. That number alone already exceeds anything we can truly visualize, yet it still feels manageable. Earth feels big because it contains our entire experience. But the moment we step outside that frame, Earth immediately begins to shrink. In cosmic terms, it is not a world, it is a point. A thin shell of rock and atmosphere suspended in an ocean of space so vast that even calling it empty feels insufficient. The moon is the first object that exposes how misleading our intuition really is. Hanging in the night sky, it feels close, almost reachable. But the average distance between Earth and the moon is about 384,000 kilometers. If Earth were the size of a marble, the moon would be another marble placed several meters away, with nothing in between. No bridge, no gradual transition, just emptiness. And yet, this distance is still considered extremely close in astronomy. Light crosses the gap between Earth and the moon in just over 1 second. That fact alone should be unsettling. In 1 second, light can circle the Earth more than 7 times. Even so, the universe is already teaching us its first lesson. Proximity is relative, and human perception is not a reliable guide. Then comes the sun. From Earth, it dominates everything. It defines our days, our climate, and the very possibility of life. It feels like the central object of existence. In reality, it is about 150 million kilometers away. Light takes a little more than 8 minutes to travel from the sun to Earth. This means that every sunrise you have ever seen was already 8 minutes old when it reached your eyes. Even in our closest cosmic relationship, we never experience the present. We experience delayed information. The sun is enormous compared to Earth. More than 1 million Earths could fit inside it. Yet this sense of grandeur collapses the moment we place the sun in context. It is not large by stellar standards. It is not especially massive. It is not rare. It is an average star in an average location inside an ordinary galaxy. The shock does not come from its size, but from how quickly importance disappears as scale increases. Within the solar system, planets are not arranged neatly like textbook diagrams. Those images are lies of convenience. In reality, the planets are separated by enormous regions of empty space. If the solar system were drawn to scale, the planets would be nearly invisible, lost in vast stretches of nothing. The distance between Mars and Jupiter alone is so large that millions of Earth-sized planets could exist there without ever coming close to one another. This is the first true confrontation with cosmic scale. Space is not defined by objects. It is defined by absence. Matter is rare. Distance is dominant. The universe is not crowded. It is overwhelmingly empty, and that emptiness is what makes size so difficult to grasp. As we move farther from the sun, the solar system begins to fade rather than end. There is no clear boundary, no wall, no edge. The sun's influence weakens slowly, blending into the surrounding interstellar environment. Even here, at the outermost regions of what we still call home. We remain unimaginably close to Earth in cosmic terms. The nearest star beyond the Sun is so distant that its light takes more than 4 years to reach us. 4 years of uninterrupted travel at the maximum speed allowed by the universe. If we could somehow board the fastest spacecraft ever built, that journey would take tens of thousands of years. And yet, astronomically speaking, this star is practically next door. This is where the human mind begins to fail. Numbers lose emotional weight. Words like million and billion stop meaning anything concrete. The brain can no longer build mental images that match reality. Scale becomes abstract, cold, and detached. This failure is not a weakness. It is evidence that the universe operates far beyond the conditions under which human cognition evolved. Up to this point, everything still feels centered on the sun. Everything still feels personal. This is our system, our star, our neighborhood. But that sense of ownership is about to disappear. Because the moment we step back far enough, the sun itself becomes insignificant. Not small in size, but small in relevance. The solar system, when viewed from a greater distance, collapses into a single, indistinguishable point of light. All the planets, all the orbits, all the history of Earth, compressed into something that cannot be resolved without instruments. And this point is not special. It is one among hundreds of billions. This is the exact moment where the idea of close stops existing, where scale no longer grows linearly, but exponentially, where distance is no longer measured by travel, but by time itself. And once this threshold is crossed, the universe no longer feels large. Once the solar system collapses into a single point, something strange happens to our sense of motion. Traveling no longer feels like moving through scenery. It feels like crossing nothing. This is where the universe reveals one of its most counterintuitive truths. Scale does not grow through objects. It grows through emptiness. The larger the structure, the less material it contains per unit of space. What expands is not matter, but distance itself. Beyond the sun's gravitational dominance lies interstellar space, a region so empty that even calling it a vacuum feels misleading. On average, there are only a few atoms per cubic centimeter. That means most of what exists between stars is closer to absolute nothing than to anything we encounter on Earth. This emptiness is not accidental. It is the natural outcome of gravity shaping matter into islands separated by vast voids. As we mentally step away from the solar system, stars begin to appear not as isolated lights, but as members of a larger structure. Our sun belongs to the Milky Way galaxy, a rotating disk of stars, gas, dust, and dark matter stretching roughly 100,000 light-years across. That number alone should force a pause. Light, traveling non-stop for 100,000 years, is still confined within the boundaries of a single galaxy. Inside the Milky Way are hundreds of billions of stars. Each star is separated from the next by immense distances. Even within the galaxy, space is mostly empty. If the sun were placed in the middle of a city-sized map of the Milky Way, the nearest star would be several kilometers away, and most of the map would contain nothing at all. Galaxies look dense from afar, but inside them, emptiness dominates. The Milky Way itself is not stationary. It moves through space as part of a gravitational family known as the local group. This group contains dozens of galaxies, bound together not by contact, but by gravity acting across millions of light-years. The distances between these galaxies are so large that light takes millions of years to travel from one to another. When we observe nearby galaxies, we are looking deep into their past, long before modern humans existed on Earth. At this scale, time and distance become inseparable. To say how far away something is automatically means saying how long ago the light left it. A galaxy 10 million light-years away is seen as it was 10 million years in the past, there is no way around this. The universe does not allow real-time observation beyond our immediate surroundings. Every deep view into space is also a view into history. As our perspective widens, the structure of the universe becomes less intuitive and more abstract. Galaxies are not randomly scattered. They follow patterns shaped by gravity and dark matter. They form filaments, walls, and clusters, with enormous voids in between. These voids can span hundreds of millions of light-years, containing almost no galaxies at all. The universe, on its largest scales, resembles a cosmic web, where matter traces invisible scaffolding created by gravity. This web is not a metaphor. It is a measurable structure confirmed by observation and simulation. Galaxies sit along filaments like beads on strings, while vast regions between them remain nearly empty. Once again, scale increases not by adding more objects, but by expanding the gaps between them. The farther out we go, the more the universe becomes a story about separation. At this point, familiar reference points vanish. There is no up or down, no center that matters. Even the Milky Way loses its identity as a special place. It becomes just one galaxy among trillions, drifting through a universe that does not organize itself around anything we recognize as meaningful. The idea of a central location dissolves completely. What makes this realization so difficult is that nothing dramatic happens as we climb this invisible ladder of scale. There is no clear boundary where one level ends and another begins. The transitions are smooth, continuous, and relentless. One scale flows into the next, each one dwarfing the previous, until comparison itself stops being useful. Even the concept of travel breaks down. Moving from one star to another is no longer a journey in space, but a journey in time measured across generations, civilizations, and entire evolutionary histories. Human lifespans become irrelevant. Recorded history becomes negligible. The universe operates on clocks that tick in millions and billions of years. Yet everything described so far still exists within a single, coherent structure. Galaxies, groups, clusters, filaments, and voids all belong to the same connected system. Gravity links them. Physics governs them. They obey the same fundamental laws. As overwhelming as this scale already feels, it is still contained within something even larger. Here is the critical realization. Everything we have described up to this point is still local. It is still part of a region where the universe behaves in familiar ways. Beyond this region lies a boundary, not defined by matter or force, but by the speed of light itself. A limit imposed not by space, but by time. The farther we look, the younger the universe becomes. Eventually, we reach a distance where the universe was so hot and dense that stars and galaxies had not yet formed. Beyond that, light itself cannot travel freely. This boundary is not a wall, but a horizon that defines how much of the universe is observable from our position in space and time. We are now approaching the point where scale stops being about distance and starts being about limits. Limits of observation. Limits of information. Limits of what the universe allows us to know. At the largest scales we can observe, the universe no longer behaves like a collection of places you could ever visit. It becomes a structure defined by limits. Not limits of technology, not limits of imagination, but limits written into the fabric of reality itself. This is where distance stops being something you could cross and becomes something you can only observe. The observable universe is not the entire universe. It is the portion of the cosmos from which light has had enough time to reach us since the beginning of cosmic expansion. This distinction is crucial. When we say the observable universe is about 93 billion light-years across, we are not describing a boundary you could ever approach. We are describing a horizon created by time. A horizon that moves, not because space ends, but because the universe is expanding. Every direction you look in space is also a direction you look back in time. The farther away an object is, the younger the universe was when the light left it. At extreme distances, we are not seeing stars or galaxies at all. We are seeing a universe before stars existed, a universe filled with hot plasma, where matter and radiation were tightly coupled, and light could not travel freely. This ancient light still exists. It surrounds us from all directions as the cosmic microwave background, a faint glow that fills the entire sky. It is not coming from a specific place. It is coming from a specific time. Roughly 380,000 years after the universe began expanding, space cooled enough for light to move freely. That moment created a surface beyond which we cannot see. Not because something blocks our view, but because there was nothing transparent to see through before that time. This surface is often misunderstood as an edge. It is not. There is no wall, no border, no physical end. It is simply the oldest light that can ever reach us. Beyond it, the universe still exists, but it is forever hidden from direct observation. This is one of the most unsettling truths about cosmic scale. No matter how advanced our instruments become, there are regions of reality that are fundamentally inaccessible. As the universe expands, distant galaxies are carried away by the stretching of space itself. Some are moving away from us so fast that their light will never reach Earth, no matter how long we wait. These galaxies are not disappearing. They are slipping beyond our cosmic horizon. Not because they move through space too quickly, but because space itself expands between us, faster than light can cross the gap. This introduces a strange and deeply counterintuitive idea. The observable universe is not static. It changes with time. In the distant future, fewer galaxies will be visible than today. One by one, they will fade beyond the horizon, leaving local space increasingly empty. Civilizations that might exist trillions of years from now could look up at the sky and see only their own galaxy, unaware that a vast universe once surrounded them. At this scale, even concepts like direction lose meaning. There is no center of the universe, no privileged location. Expansion happens everywhere, equally, from every point. Wherever you stand, distant galaxies appear to move away from you. This does not place Earth at the center. It places the observer at the center of their own observable bubble, a bubble defined by time and light. The true scale of the universe, then, is not just large, it is layered. There is the universe we can observe, the universe that exists beyond observation, and potentially regions so distant that they will never interact with us in any way. These regions are not just far away, they are causally disconnected. Nothing that happens there can ever influence us, and nothing we do can ever influence them. Here, language begins to fail. Distance is no longer useful. Size is no longer intuitive. Even numbers lose their ability to communicate meaning. We can say trillions of galaxies, but that phrase carries no emotional weight. It does not translate into understanding. The universe has grown beyond the scales our minds evolved to handle. And yet, everything we have described follows precise physical laws. There is no mystery in the sense of magic. The equations work. The observations match predictions. The universe is not chaotic. It is structured, governed, and consistent. What overwhelms us is not confusion, but magnitude. Perhaps the most profound realization is this: everything humanity has ever done exists on a thin layer of one planet, orbiting one average star, in one ordinary galaxy, inside a universe that does not acknowledge our presence. Not out of hostility, but out of scale. The universe is not empty of meaning. It is indifferent to our need for centrality. And still, within this vastness, we exist. We are made of atoms forged in ancient stars. We are composed of matter that has traveled billions of years through cosmic history. The same laws that govern the largest structures in existence also govern the chemistry inside your body. There is no separation between the human scale and the cosmic scale. There is only difference in magnitude. The edge of the cosmos is not a destination. It is a realization. A realization that reality is far larger than intuition, far older than memory, and far more expansive than language can express. When we ask how big the universe is, the most honest answer is not a number.